doing? Yeah, thanks, appreciate it. It's gonna be very nice. So let's get started. Let's talk about a topic, and that's important. This is not clickbait. This is not gonna be scammy. This is gonna be super legit. We're actually gonna do a screen share, and we're gonna go into the math of some income calculations. How could you go to an income for, let's say, $5,000, $10,000, $50,000, or even $100,000 a month? So how could you get to $1 million a year? And we're gonna calculate that because there's a lot of calculation, there's a lot of mindset around this, so that you can really sit down and say, hey, okay, this is what's missing, this is what I have to do. And yeah, this is what I really would love to lay out here. Normally on this channel, you notice it's normally all about crypto. We're gonna focus a lot on DeFi, decentralized finance, over the next couple of weeks and months. My new company is involved in there, and I really wanna educate people on what DeFi actually is and how it's gonna transform many of their lives and what benefit it's gonna bring to people all around the world. But every once in a while, we throw in some mindset, some business, entrepreneurial stuff, because I think that's some really, really important stuff, actually. So let's do a screen share. Let me know how the sound is, how the picture is, especially now I'm gonna be switching. So let me know if you can see my tablet. It's gonna take a few seconds, hang on a second. Let me know if you can see my tablet. I'm gonna be doing some writing here. I'm just gonna write hello. Hello. Let me know if you can see this and that you still have a good sound. It should be all working. And then we are gonna do some really, really, really basic calculations. So let me wipe that again. Oh, that's wrong. Here, oops. Now it works. Okay, so let me erase that. We can see it, fantastic. So then we're gonna get to some really, really, really basic calculations. And these really basic calculations all stem around an income at this moment. And so this is something a mentor of mine told me, and I just wanna pass this on. And so he says, and this was always the major things that I learned from him. He always said, look, there's a couple of major breaking stones, if you want to call it, in your income, Julian. And that's always what he said. He said, one of the major incomes, obviously, is when you earn your first couple $1,000s a month, right? So let's say it's $2,000 a month. That's obviously a big breaking stone, because then you have at least some income. The next one he always said was when you get 6 figures a year. So it's around 10,000 a month. That's always a big next step. The next huge step is when you do $250,000 a year, right? So that's 20,000 per month. And then the next step was always 100,000 a month. Now, anything beyond that, and I just want to be clear, obviously there's no limit to this, but most of the time this doesn't come as income. Most of the time this comes as something else. This comes as bonuses, that comes as participation in the company, that comes as dividends, that comes as something else, as appreciation. So generally this is something else. And so this is kind of what we have here on one side, if we want to call it. And then we have something else. We have, and let's leave this out here in the middle for now. We have something here. And what we have here is how much we are making every hour, right? That's basically breaking it down. And so if we look at people, and we're just really, really breaking it down in very basic steps right now, you could kind of say, okay, I don't know, low income is probably like $10 an hour. And I don't want to step on any toes here. So if you are below $10 an hour, this is not stepping on any toes. It's purely, I think, I don't know what minimum wage is in most countries, but I think $10, that's really on the low end. And now from there, we can kind of move up and we can say, you know what, I don't know, a next step would be to get to $20 an hour. And then the next step would be to get to, I don't know, to 50. And then it's 100. And then let's get exponential here and let's do 1,000. And let's go really crazy and say $10,000 an hour, right? So this is kind of the progression here. And so now the major question, and that's always what a mentor told me, and I just want to pass this on. So the major question here is, what do you do here that results in different kinds of income? Because then the math starts getting very, very simple. And so what we're going to do here now is just do some math. Now, the big mistake that most people do is they think, I work 100 hours a week, which, let's say this is true, but it's probably not. So it's 400 hours a month. So if I want to make, let's say, $10,000, so let's pick this example here. If I want to make $10,000 a month divided by 400, that means I need to make $25 an hour times the 400, and I would get to 10K. Now, this is absolutely baloney, and there's a couple of reasons why this is absolutely baloney. The very first reason to why this is absolutely baloney is because of something called 2080. In 2080, and this is the Pareto principle, all of you know this, 20% of what you're doing, the time you're spending, is going to cause 80% of the results. And the other 80 would only focus on the 20% of the results. This is a really important concept, especially when we get here in this entire concept of generating some kind of income, and especially getting into those higher kind of categories that I think many people are interested. So the very first thing we need to ask ourselves is, how many hours do we actually have? And that depends a lot on what you're doing right now. Are you currently already working on what you totally enjoy doing? Are you working on your own business? Do you have your own side gig? Then obviously you have completely different possibilities in hours than if you are working in a job and you hate that job, and all you're looking forward to is when this job finally stops and you can do and work on your own thing. So this is something you really have to kind of reflect. Are you already having your own business, your side gig, or are you completely stuck in your job and you're not getting anywhere there? Because this depends obviously a lot on how many hours you can invest in there and how many hours you can put in there. Now, my recommendation is, as quick as possible, when you're employed, do something on the side that is your own side gig. Even if you totally enjoy what you're doing, in my opinion, you need to have something on the side. And this just means you have some additional side income. This doesn't mean that you need to focus on this 50 hours a week. It just means do something a little bit on the side. For example, in my company, iUnlimited, which focuses really on crypto education, personal development, I really encourage everyone to build something up for themselves and have a little bit of a side income. I live what I preach, and I would love every one of my team members to do the same. Now, obviously, it's a different story when you are, let's say, working in a company and you really enjoy what you're doing, and this job that you're doing is really highly paid. So, for example, at Cake, my other company, we have a lot of engineers. Now, engineers, generally speaking, get paid really well. Why? Because, well, it's just in high demand what these guys are doing. So that's kind of a bit of the balance you have to figure out there. And that's obviously going to be the balance in how many hours a week can you kind of calculate here for. And so let's go into the screen share again and do some further math on this, because that's going to be a bit relevant here. Now, realistically, let's just say realistically, you're going to have, I don't know, 50 hours per week. So that's 200 hours a month. That's now realistic. And now we have a 2080. So that means you have around 40 hours that are your main productive work. That's the key thing. This is the main productive work. And for this, you need to reach 80% of where you want to get to, because the remaining hours are going to fill up the other 20%. That's normal. And you can be in a dreamland and say, you know what, I'm going to get 200 hours of 100% productive work. Well, great job. I highly doubt you're going to be able to do this, but let's just leave it at that. So now the major question becomes, okay, so if I have 40 hours and let's say I want to get to, just as an example, $10,000, then you need to multiply that by $250. If you want to get to the $20,000 frame, you need to multiply that times $500. And so now comes the super key question. And that is what my mentor always taught me, and that's what I want to really pass on to you. It doesn't matter where you want to get to, even if you want to get to the 100,000. And I want to be honest, the 100,000 here is probably not reachable as an individual. You need to do this in a company. You need to have some kind of scalable income there. It's going to be very difficult to do this. But in the 10 and 20,000, that's definitely doable, I think, as a regular salary income. The 100,000, you're probably going to have to do it through a company, through a business where you get some extra income there. But so let's just focus on the 10,000, and then we do some examples on the 100,000. So the question is this. So this is the 10K here, and this is the 20K here. So now your major question has to be, how are you going to be able to charge $250 or $500 for an hour? Maybe not directly, but what's the value you can do there? And what is this kind of activity? So that is here the question, the activity that you need to be doing here in order to be able to get there. And now, and this is a key concept that I always see, especially young people, when, in my opinion, where they are really, really missing out. Young people, they all are in this personal development stuff, and I totally get it because I really love this as well. But so what they're doing is, let's say they have $100 on the side, they're investing this. And in my opinion, big mistakes. They are investing this, for example, in crypto. They are investing this into ETFs and so on. Where what they should be investing in it is themselves, because this allows them to, over time, get from $10 to $50 and basically walk down this ladder here until you are able to do something every hour that just produces so much value that you're going to be able to pay more. And now comes the trick. On the one hand, you have to do two things, and this is really key now. You have to up your game. You have to up your game. This is wrong. Up, not up. You have to up your game. This is step number one. You have to up your game. You have to learn things that are going to be able to, where you're going to be able to be paid a lot of money. I don't know. This could mean that you're going into coding, that you are doing sales, you're doing marketing, whatever it is. There's so many jobs where you don't need any college education. You just have to learn this. Like, this is hustle. And many times it helps if you can invest money in here. And now the second thing, and this is just as important, is the right focus. I meet so many people who would be really, 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 really good and would be able to charge a lot for what they're doing, but they just spend their time in totally different things. And so what you need to really push yourself and focus on is, how are you spending those 20%? And how are you able to charge a lot of money for that? And the way you do it is by focus and by upping your game. And this is a very, very key concept. It's super clear on paper. It's super simple on paper. But if you want to put this into action, it's actually as straightforward. You just have to do it. Simple doesn't mean it's easy. It just means that it's a very clear path, and you just have to do it. You need discipline. You need self-discipline, and you need to have a long time horizon. That's really, really important. That's why I always preach time horizon, time horizon, time horizon. My English book, Time Horizon, is coming out in August, and this is why it's so important. So what's the steps? Well, invest in yourself. Learn some skills. Get better at that. There's so many things where you can easily get to an income where this is your kind of salary. But then you also have to focus on doing this. And focus means saying no. Very, very, very important. Focus means saying no. Saying yes is not focus. Focus means saying no. And then you have to focus, and you have to say, you know what? I need to be sure that I am spending 40 hours a week doing exactly this, because I'm going to be able to charge $500 an hour. Maybe not charge directly, but this is going to be the revenue that I'm going to be generating. This is going to be my salary. This is what I'm able to do. If you're a lawyer, great. You can definitely do this. Lawyers in Singapore, they make even more. So I pay my lawyer $800 an hour. Insanely a lot of money. So that's how these lawyers get to this level. So now comes a trick, and this is now focus. Focus means saying no and outsourcing. And this is something you just have to learn. And I know a lot of people who outsource, but then they don't use this time in a productive manner, and they just pay, but they don't themselves generate the extra revenue, right? So when I work with my lawyer, for example, and whenever there's lower level stuff, he immediately puts me to some lower level person, some secretary or someone who doesn't have this, who doesn't charge as much. Maybe this person makes $50 an hour. So this is where this person is, and he or she works at this level. And this is such an important concept. And the reason I'm sharing this with you, and I really mean this, is because I so often meet people who talk to me about, hey, I have $500 on the side. I am 20 years old. What should I be doing? Should I invest it in Bitcoin? You can, but you're really hoping that Bitcoin goes up, and no one knows if it does. Now, I hope it does, right? And I believe it does. There's no guarantees, especially if you're young. You need to invest in yourself. Because those $500 you invested in a good Udemy course that costs $50 or $20. Man, you can learn how to code JavaScript, Python, and you're gonna get a job. And initially, you're gonna make $3,000 an hour, $3,000 a month, and then $5,000. And within a year or two, you can get to a level where you're suddenly making six figures a year, $110,000 a month. Then you can get to $250,000, and maybe you get even better. And then you get some shares, so you get some stocks, and suddenly it goes up. And on the other hand, you invest $500 into a crypto, you don't know what's happening because you're betting on other people. Don't do that. Bet on yourself. And that's something that I really want to give you with this video, because it's the most powerful thing. to put control in your own self. Now, I know this is the scariest version, because that means you actually have to deliver, and it's not that you can point fingers at someone else. It's actually pointing the finger at yourself. But at the end, that's what brings success, and that's what makes you confident. That's what makes you certain that when you have to do something, you're going to be able to deliver. Let me know what you think about all this. Let me know in the comments below. Let me know in the chat if you have any questions. I'm going to be checking back on the video, see if there's any questions related to this video that I can answer, that I can help. But I hope this kind of makes sense. Work on yourself and focus, and work out the numbers of your income that you should be focusing on. Reflect and say, hey, what did I work on last week? Actually 99% of my hours go into this super unimportant stuff that doesn't really deliver anything. And if you have any struggles with this, really, I highly recommend my new book, Time Horizon, coming out next week and or next month. And yeah, you're gonna get some extra input there. I hope you give me a thumbs up for this, subscribe to the channel, and I'm gonna have a quick look into the chat. Otherwise, I'll see you at the next video. Yours truly, Julian.